Hey, I'm Corey.
And I'm Laura, and today we're going to continue our series on trust.
Yes, and today's big idea is we can trust God even when it seems impossible.
Well, then I've got to ask you, Corey, what are some things you really want to do, but you feel like they might be impossible?
Well, I really want to win the Amazing Race. I've always wanted to pet a lion, and I want to finish an Ironman one day.
See, I don't think those things are impossible. They're all within reach. I thought the Ironman one was impossible, but I just signed up for my first one next year, so I think it's possible.
Well, then I guess I'm going to have to sign up too.
You guys are gonna love this. Today we're talking about love, what it looks like to make a big promise, and then what it also looks like when God makes mind-blowing promises and then keeps them. Watch this.
It's you! You're back! We're together! Woo! Hey, I'm just so glad you're back. Just a quick recap last time. We were talking about Abram, how he moved from one place, all the way down to a place called Canaan, and we were just talking about trust and this ongoing journey of trust. You're learning how to trust other people, you're learning how to trust yourself, and a lot of that comes with falling down. The one thing we do not want to communicate to you is that this path, this life journey, this faith element is ever going to be easy. So today's God story, we're going to be talking about things that absolutely seem impossible. Let me start with this story. I love love. Love is the engine that truly drives everything that matters about this life. And those of you now, you're starting to get to the place now where we're looking at, boyfriends, girlfriends, relationships, the kind of people that you're interested in, and all that sort of stuff. Great, fantastic. It's a fun and exciting and painful and terrifying and moment in your life. I wouldn't trade a second of it for anything. But for me, I was older, and I remember I was driving home from Baltimore, Maryland. While driving, I almost had like a vision, which I highly do not recommend. And I spent that almost 8-hour drive thinking about a girl I hadn't met yet, down to her hair color, what kind of person she was gonna be, different elements of a relationship. Now, this could absolutely just be a daydream, fantasy thinking and stuff like that, except for 3 months after that vision. And that stuck with me. I remember thinking that this is great, this is amazing. I couldn't believe how detailed it was. I met her. That girl. The girl from my vision on the drive from Baltimore, Maryland. And that girl is my wife. And this was an impossible situation that worked out so beautifully. So for this God story, I want us to really wrestle and start to learn about the fact that we can trust God even when things seem impossible. And that is the greatest gift that faith gives you. So let's look at how Abram came to that understanding in the story today. So now we are in Genesis chapter 15. Ta-da-da. Basically, Abram says, "Sovereign God, what good are all these blessings that you've given to me when I don't even have a son?" And that's verse 2. And now we're going to skip down to verse 5. Then the Lord took Abram outside and said to him, "Look up into the sky and count the stars if you can. That's how many descendants you will have." And Abram believed the Lord, and the Lord counted him as righteous because of his faith. All right, so Abram's in this situation. He's been shown the stars, but that's not the whole story. The next part is God's promise to Abram, and it starts off with what I can only describe as maybe the most horrifying barbecue of all time. But it's important, and there's a lot of context in this that we need to get to because this is God's next level of communicating with Abram without actually allowing him to have a son yet. This is this frustrating, amazing journey that I've been talking about. So he gets Abram to get some animals. Still in chapter 15, verse 9, the Lord says, "Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, a 3-year-old female goat, a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, a young pigeon, and a partridge in a pear tree." That last part I added, so don't get confused. And so Abram brings these things, and this is a whole mystical vision sequence. And so sorry to be describing this to you, but he cuts these animals in half. In this time, when 2 kings or 2 leaders or anything like that were about to enter into covenant, we have records of this ritual that used to take place. And they would take an animal like this, and they would cut it in half, and they put the 2 halves on either side, and they would walk through. The promise would be that if I break my covenant, my promise to you, what has happened to this animal, may it happen to me. So this is what's taking place, but here's the amazing thing. Abram falls into this deep, dark sleep, and it's scary, and it's ominous, and it's powerful because this is a huge moment in the history of humanity and God. And in this moment, Abram sees fire pass through the carcasses. Do you understand the depth of what just took place? God enters into covenant. God says, "This is my promise to you, Abram." The humility, the love, the compassion that God is showing this person and all those who will be blessed after this person, which includes you and me. This is the most important moment in the history of the communication between the divine and all of us. This is impossible. I will make it possible for you. This is the great covenant. This is the great promise that Abram was given. All of this you will see if you simply believe. And that's what we're calling you to do, to simply believe. It requires bravery, patience. It requires humility. Covenant is more than a contract. A contract can be broken. A covenant is unbreakable. And a covenant relationship is what you have with the Almighty. So to conclude this God story about the impossible being possible with God, the frustration it takes when things don't seem to be going as we want them to go or as fast as we want them to go, I want to close off by talking about the character of God in this moment, that God keeps his word. And the more I live, the longer I'm on this earth, the more I realize that all you have is your word. You've got to back up what you say with your actions. I really look forward to hearing about all the things that right now you think are impossible, that became possible. Remember, in human history, it was impossible for humans to fly. It was impossible for humans to cure diseases. It was impossible to cross the oceans because the whole thing was flat. It was impossible for the world to be round. When are we going to learn that so many things that we say can't be done absolutely can be done if people are just willing to try? That, my young brothers and sisters, is faith. Believing in something that nobody else can see, believing in the truth of something that nobody else has discovered yet. That is what makes a great life. So in the meantime, I'm Jamie, you are you. Both of those things make me very happy. God bless, and we'll see you next time.